did that story lead to any pressing questions from the audience? Anyone? I see some hands right there.
What was the toughest part of besides the weather and other factors? What was the toughest part of doing scenes that were difficult to shoot?
Scenes that were perhaps difficult to shoot in particular.
I guess the scenes outside, you know, the burning of Benning's body and all the stuff that we had to do outside because it was just so unbelievably cold. But, I mean, you know, listen, working in movies is like being in heaven, you know. Everything's paid for. You get per diem, they pay for your hotel. There's always like hot chicks around. I mean, it's like you want to be all the time doing this. So when I say difficult, you know, compared to working for a living, it beats pushing dirt, you know.
Right on. And let's take one over there.
Have you stayed in touch with any of the guys you acted with in the film?
Have you stayed in touch with any of your co-stars?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just called Joel Polis, who played Fuchs, and it was his birthday, so I called him to wish him a happy birthday. I saw Keith David over the summer. He and I got together to have dinner. I'd seen John around 99, but I kind of lost his number, and I need to get it, if I can, to reach out to him. Kurt came to an acting class I was teaching in Los Angeles, and hung out and spoke to my students. So, you know, and of course we lost Charlie Hallahan, you know, and Donald Moffat I haven't seen. Dick Dysart I ran into at a gym once. So, you know, some of the guys I do see and keep in touch with, but not as much as I'd really like to, because it was a great bunch of guys, you know, and I feel like John handpicked every single actor and created an ensemble. Because I was talking to Rodrigo before the film, and we were saying the thing about a good film, especially a horror film, is you have to believe it first. If you don't establish normalcy or credibility, you know, when all this weird stuff starts happening, you're going to be like, come on, if you don't care about the characters and the story. And I thought because of John's casting and the group that he put together, it was an exceptional group of people. We had good chemistry between us, and a lot of us have remained friends, yeah.
And obviously one of the things that the film is known for is Rob Bottin's special effects. And I'm wondering, how did this film change for you from script to what is on screen? I mean, the special effects obviously play a huge part, bring it to life, and help with the believability that you were talking about. So as someone who saw the film from page to screen and was involved with it, what were your impressions when it was all said and done?
Well, you know, I guess somebody said, what was the hardest part? To make those faces and have all the special, they have to put you in a cast. Like, you know, if you break your arm, they put it in a body cast. They had to cast my face. And after about 10 minutes of sitting under this hot plaster of Paris, it starts to harden and you feel like you can't breathe. And I literally freaked out on Rob Bottin. I was like, get me out of this! So they had to crack the thing open and do it again. I had to take a Valium. Because it made me so paranoid, you know. But when I finally saw the movie, and again tonight, it was as sickening to look at, even though you knew it was a special effect, as it was to see it on film. It was sickening. It was like, oh my God. All those reactions were not acting. That was us going, ooh, you know. So it's, you know, I don't really know much about special effects. I'm an actor, right? I'm not a science fiction guy, you know, I like to read it once in a while. I don't know anything about special effects. I like to be, you know, drawn into the story. And if the special effects feed that story and the audience is subsequently moved, you know, and involved, then done a great job.
Right here.
I was working with the director, John Carpenter.
Tell us a little bit about John Carpenter as a director.
I have to tell you a funny story about that. He's good. You know, he's not really into like, you know, what's your motivation? You know, that's not John's thing. You know what I mean? He's not a method actor's director. He's you know, he's a film guy, and he just wants the thing to work according to his vision. But one time, Palmer and I were in a scene that got cut, right? And we were so upset about it. You know, it's very hard to cut actors' lines and scenes. They get upset about it. And we were mic'd. We had these little, you know, wireless mics on. And we're like, fuck that fucking asshole. How can he do that to us? Yeah, fuck him. That's our scene. That was our big scene. What are we going to do? Goddamn, fuck him. Fuck him. And all of a sudden, John sticks his head around the corner and goes, I heard every word you said. So for weeks, I walked around like, oh my God, how could I do this? But, you know, John, yeah, I guess he forgave us and let it slide. And, yeah, he's a good director. He's a good director because he knows what he wants. You know, he casts very well, obviously. I think he likes actors, but he's a very heavy guy. You know, he lives this stuff. You know, he lives in this world of horror and fear. He understands it so well. He understands it in order to convey it. But he's a great guy, and I miss him, you know.
And I think we'd all like to hear about what that scene was that got cut.
I can't remember.
Fair enough. All right, let's get some more questions going. Right there, please.
Hey, one of the things I've always been very impressed with the film is the rapport between actors. Like, there's some very subtle performances going on there, and you guys work very well together. I'm just very curious about how much time you guys spent in rehearsal, what that entire process was.
Want to know about the time spent on rehearsals for the actors and what that process was like?
Yeah, I think you're right. I especially noticed in Fuchs' performance how subtle it was, how nuanced his performance was, and Richard Mazer also as Clark. We got 2 weeks, which is very rare these days because of the cost of films. The only other film, well, I did 2 other pictures, Planet of the Cave Bear and Justice for All with Al Pacino, where they gave us 2 weeks of rehearsal, and it makes a huge difference. You know, because you cannot replace time. Time is the one thing you can't force or coerce. It just is. And the more time you spend with someone, obviously, the more intimately you get to know them, and therefore when you play with them, because acting is very much like playing jazz. You know sort of the notes you're going to play, but it's how you play them according to what the other guy gives you. And we had 2 weeks, but you know, that 2 weeks, we all hung out together and got to know each other, and we went to the Yankees game that when they were in town playing the Dodgers. I think that John was kind of at the top of his game, so he could command 2 weeks of rehearsal. But the logistics of the film business have changed considerably. The cost is so astronomical to do a film that to hire actors for 2 weeks and have them rehearse is almost prohibitive at this point, which is a terrible shame, because you get so much more as the audience. We forget that the movies are for you guys. They're not for the studios. They're not for the stars.